All right, this is Friday, May 22nd, and we're going to put what we've learned this week all together into a simple composition. We're going to paint an orange and an apple and the shadowing that they have, and so that you can see how you can use those different color combinations in your painting. All right, let's get started. Grab your paints and let's get started. All right, the last little segment I want to show you is why you want to use black just a little bit at a time. You want to be very sparingly with that. So like if you are shadowing some yellow bananas, all right, so you've got some yellow here and you want to shadow that. So we're going to take some yellow and show you the difference between if you add a complementary color or you just add black to a color. Okay, you guys probably heard my dog in the background. He can be really mean sounding. All right, so this is the violet, and we're going to shadow the violet to see how you shadow that. So it just kind of makes it like if it was a banana, how you would just make it be a little bit darker. You see that color? Just kind of, it doesn't look like it's dead or anything. It just is a little darker. But if you take that same thing now, and we're gonna just add black to the yellow, then what you're gonna get, when you add black to the yellow, you're gonna get kind of an olive green color. So it's a whole different hue in itself. So you get two different things. So depending on what you want, if you want kind of an olive green, you can add like the black to the yellow to blend it. But if you just want it to be kind of shaded as far as and just dulled, then you're gonna add the complement. Okay, so start by creating whatever kind of simple still life you want. We're gonna just have a simple little orange and an apple. So we're gonna start with making our hands go round and round and round till we get where we want it to go. Kind of get our circles on here, and then give yourself a background. So like figure out where you want it to stop. So we're going to just do a little square here that we can kind of get on the page. This is going to be our simple little still life. All right, so we're going to start off by making cool colors kind of in the background. So we'll start off with just like a white in the background, and we're going to put just a little bit of color. So just a little bit of maybe kind of a blue, green, maybe even dull it a little bit. Let's put a little red in it here and just kind of dull it a little bit. So it's just more of just a muted background color. Not anything that's going to stand out too much. Got to get your background and your foreground done first. So we're going to put that background on. Are we in the paper? Are we in the space? Okay. All right, so we've got a background, and now let's make the foreground just a little darker of that same color. I'm just going to mix some of that same with the blue and make a blue tablecloth. All right, so we got our basic, kind of our cool background going, and now we're going to do like some of our basic colors as far as for our apple and our orange. So our apple is a light orange, so we can start off with some yellow. And then we're going to mix just a little bit of red with our yellow. To get our orange. And we're going to add a little white to this side and kind of blend all that together. Just starting point for the orange. Now, we can see that the orange has some shadows, so our opposite of on the color wheel is blue. So in order to tone down that orange, we've got to mix some blue with it. And it's going to make kind of a shadowed color to go along on this side. So we're going to add a little shadow to the orange. I'm going to rinse off my brush, dab it with water, and kind of blend this out. And you may have to go back and add a little bit more orange to when you're blending, just because your paint may get a little dry. Okay, so now we're going to put just a little bit more orange. I think it needs a little bit more paint right in here. I'm just using a little bit more yellow to mix that back in. Needed a few more layers. All right, so now we're going to mix the yellow green for the apple. So again, we're going to start off with yellow. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it to kind of get a green. But you can see that that green is just a little bit too bright for the apple. So we're going to put a little bit of red, which is the complement, and dull it down a little bit. So we're going to lessen its intensity, and then that's closer to what we really want. So we're going to kind of combine some yellow and the green. For our apple. Just an example of how you can mix those colors. And your strokes will be kind of the same direction that you want that apple to flow. It's going to have some white in it also because it's got some highlights. And you can clean out your brush and kind of dry it with your paper towel and then just lightly touch that paint as far as for blending. Then we have a kind of where the apple is coming out. You've got kind of a area where the stem is coming out. We're going to have to move to a smaller brush, and we've got to make a darker color. So we can take our green and we're going to add to the red. We're going to get kind of a brownish color. But there are times where you have to be able to add just a little bit of black. So I'm adding some green to the red to this so that we kind of get our brown color. And then we're going to take and just add a tiny bit of black to it. Just over here, just a little bit. Not much, just to make it a little darker so that we can kind of have some parts that are going in where that stem is coming out. Yeah, okay, so you guys can kind of see what we're blending. All right, so take your brush, kind of twirl it. We're going to add that darker area. And we'll blend it with some of our lighter green. Now I gotta let it dry just for a little bit, and I need to wash out my brushes, and so I'll come back in just a minute. All right, so we're gonna continue to keep blending in some of these colors. We're gonna go back and forth with our, kind of add some white to it, add some of your green, kind of twirl your brush, and so that you can kind of just begin to start blending that in to the colors that you want for that apple. And it's not going to look exactly like your apple. It's just because it's a painting. Now this has a little bit more red in it, so how can we get that? Well, the green and the red, let's take that and let's just add a little bit more red, and it's going to be more the intensity closer to the red, mixing with the green to get some of that red color. So we're going to add some of that in there now, just to kind of, people wouldn't think in terms of, oh my goodness, our apple is, you know, got all these different colors in it, but that's what's fun. If you've ever done puzzles and you're looking for a piece and you just know that it's going to be a piece that has red on it, and then when you finally find it, it's got a different color, and you're like, how did that work? Well, it's just because when they do those puzzles, they do all those blending, and I think they put that in just to kind of throw you off a little bit. Okay, so once you have your colors on, you can take and rinse out your brush, kind of dry it, spread out your brush strokes like this, and then just lightly, kind of lightly just blend some of that painting strokes in. So again, you can do that. Rinse out your brush with water, and if you want just like a little bit of highlights or something, you can add some other colors on top of it. All right, so we've got pretty much our apple. I'm gonna put a little highlight here on the apple. And our orange, and now we got to work on some shadows. So we're going to go back in now with our smaller brush and make sure that we have our background like we want it. I think this apple is a little too big, so I'm going to kind of cut it down just a little bit. And you can make sure that you have your background with the colors that you want. And then we're going to add some shadows. You can see some shadows. So again, if this is our blue, if this is our background color, we had kind of some blue with a little bit of white in it. We have to go to our opposite, which is our orange. So we've got to go with our yellow and our red. So we got yellow and some red to make an orange. It's got some of the blue already in it. And we're going to mix it with that blue. So we're mixing orange and blue together. And we're going to get kind of a shadow that we can put on. So we're going to put our shadow on, which is just a dull down color to kind of make it look like it's got some shadows coming. Now I'm going to add just a touch of, just a little tiny bit of black in this blue, because I think it needs just a little bit darker. Not a lot, because all we want to do is show a shadow. So we're going to come over here and make it just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of light blue and kind of make those shadows stand out a little bit more. And then we're gonna take a little paintbrush and we're gonna add a stem. So we're gonna come back over here and take kind of a yellow, mix it with a little bit of white. So we have a light yellow, and then we wanna make kind of brown that down a little. So we've got quite a bit of brown that we've already made. And if it turns out to be too green and we want it more brown, we know we just got to add a little bit of red to it, because red is the opposite. So when we add the complement on the color wheel, we'll get the color that we want. So you just kind of begin to mix back and forth. So you know if it's too red, you add some green. Okay, so we're going to add a stem in here, just to finish it out. And so that you can see it, we're going to put a little bit of white on one end. And then we're also going to put just a little shadow on the other side, which is this darker color with a little bit of a real dark. And one of the things that is so hard for me, you guys that know me, is that it's really better to wait and let stuff dry, but I just really want to finish it. So it'd be much better, as far as like right now it's blending in with some of the other colors, is just to let it dry before you add that stem. But I think you guys get the idea. See you tomorrow. Have a happy weekend. I'll see you back again Monday. Don't forget to wash your hands. Bye-bye for now.